Right, Volvo's in the workshop again this afternoon because I'm going to change the turbo and change it for that Chinese GT30 over there. Basically, I smoke tested it last night, no leaks. It's still got the power it's always had, maybe a tiny bit more, but it is super mega like slow spooling, like power band. I don't think full boost is until about 5,500 RPM, even in a higher gear, and with no leaks and no issues, and it drives lovely. The only thing realistically I can put it down to is the turbine wheel has basically knackered itself, and I'm not surprised because I'm pushing this turbo way harder than it's intended to be, way beyond the spec. I've got no excuse. I can't say it's because the turbo's rubbish. This is all my fault. I'm doing this fully in the knowledge that it's wrong, but I want to see how it would last, because it certainly performs and it's easy for me to do and cheap. But no, I'll only know once I take it off and look at the turbine wheel. I've already looked at the compressor side and it looks like brand new. There's no play, there's no nothing. So yeah, I'm not 100% it's gonna be that, but going by how it performs now, which is very laggy but very powerful, maybe even more powerful than before, it makes sense that it could be the turbo, because the compressor's still working like new, but the turbine is damaged, so it's spooling slower, but because there's some of it missing, there's even less pre-turbine back pressure. It's kind of effectively working like a bigger turbine housing, so it's still making the power just up the top like it's a bloody Honda. So I'm now going to strip it all down, which is dead easy and quick because I've done it many times, and see what the crack is. I'm not going to bother really filming it because, well, who cares. 20 minutes later and turbo's off. It's pretty easy on this, to be honest. The only thing that makes it a bit difficult is because it's got studs on the manifold rather than bolts, which is kind of nice in some ways. It restricts the amount of room you've got, and because of the internal wastegate, it's a bit of a fiddle getting it off after. But fucking hell, look at this on the chassis rail. Massive big fucking boulder, not even a little stone. I mean, what's that, two and a bit inches? Weighs a fair bit too. Shows how rough the roads are around here. That's kicked up from somewhere and landed there. But yeah, oh well, could have been worse.
Better landing on the chassis than on the windscreen.
Well, yeah, exactly. That would have went straight through the windscreen. But yeah, turbo is off, and as you'll see now, appearances can be very deceiving. Here is the turbine wheel, and looks absolutely untouched. This is the compressor wheel, looks absolutely untouched, pretty much like new. But let me show you something. That's the turbine exducer. Look at the inducer. It is absolutely fucked. That should be wider than that, not the other way around. It's taken about a centimetre off every single blade, melted by looks of it. What's in this one?
Well, melted or snapped?
I don't know. Melted, I think. There's no markings on the housing, so
There's not them, so melted.
I think it's melted. Just can't handle it.
No, you can tell. Yeah, that's like hit.
Yeah.
Hit the
Yeah. Back pressure through the moon.
melted.
And look at the play as well. And that's funny actually, because the other day, not even 48 hours ago, I checked the play and it had none when it first started happening. But because I was pretty convinced it was broke, I've kicked the shit out of it since, and now it's got a lot of play. And because of that, it's at the compressor wheel along the curve as well. So yeah, that's probably in the intercooler somewhere, if not in the engine. Not loads, I would say.
But that's like not even shavy. That's
nah, it's tiny. It's very small amount. But yeah, look, yeah, that is quite a significant amount of play. This is actually the most broke I've ever broke one.
We were over revving it.
Yeah, over speeding it and over. I mean, these are rated to about 1.5 bar. I've been running 2.2 to, and then holding 2. And then last night when I was playing with it on the way back, I put it up to 2.5, and yeah, it gets the shit kicked out of it and it just can't handle it. So I guess it's time to put something better on.
There's a nice place on the wall there.
Yeah, I'm gonna, yeah, I can either make a nice shelf of my broken turbos, or I don't know, could make a clock out of it. Anyone want broken turbo giveaway? I'll make a clock or something. But yeah, now I better see if that GT30 fits. And yeah, a couple of minutes later, GT30 is on. Despite being able to flow more air and being bigger internally than the old turbo, it's slightly smaller externally. It's very compact, so it fits a lot easier than the old one, which is nice. So work out where the wastegate's gonna go and fucking send it. Yeah, that's roughly where it's gonna go. Makes sense, doesn't it? So obviously we can rotate it 360, so
Yeah.
I reckon oil feed's no problem. It doesn't hit anything. It's far enough away from the plugs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Do you need me to hold it, or can you mark it?
Oh, come on. Precision. Yeah.
No, if it's
She's
true.
gonna be. This is us. She's gonna be pretty much like that.
Yeah,
That's what you need. This is the hole you're gonna need.
yeah. If it's real precision, we'd do it on the car like that, just really big hole.
Fucking through my wheel.
Yeah.
Straight through.
Straight through, there you go, high flow. Right then, so my next job is to drill a big hole. So I'm going to take the turbo back off now. Well, taking the turbo off and mocking up the new turbo took seconds. Getting the new housing ready for the wastegate to be welded on was not easy. In fact, it was a nightmare. The housing's relatively small, so I couldn't just drill all the way through with a hole saw and get it right. I had to go part the way in and then use things like die grinder and a lot of hammering and fucking about to smash the rest off. It's now got a wastegate on it. That's also a bung for what was an EGT sensor. I might put a back pressure sensor in this one day and just for some testing. But yeah. That's what it's like inside. But yeah, I can't see that breaking anytime soon. He's done the weld inside and I can't remember how many passes outside. I think he said 3. 3 outside, 1 inside. Good times. Now I suppose I better maybe offer this up to see how the fitment is likely to be. Yep, this is a gate on the car, on the turbo, on the everything. Now I just need to, well, I'm going to put the screamer in place next, work out where that's going to go, but I got a feeling it's going straight through the bonnet. And yeah, go from there. But yeah, all good so far. Super easy to remove and refit the wastegate, which is good because that means it makes it really easy to access all the plugs and everything. I still got to make a downpipe. Oil feed and return are already correct, so no worries there. I haven't decided yet how the hell I'm going to run the anti-lag stuff because I don't think it'll fit now. But I think I can make it fit. I don't know. I'll work that out. That's less important. This is where we are at the moment, and it's looking pretty badass. One thing I really wanted to do tonight, as you know, as a mock-up, even though I don't need to put it on till the end, is the boost pipes, because that was the one thing that if I didn't have the right bits, I wouldn't be able to sort tomorrow. But luckily, because I hoard every fucking hose I've ever owned in my life, I got all the right hoses. I was pretty confident the compressor outlet to intercooler hose was going to be fine, but I knew I had to change the turbo inlet one because it's a 4-inch inlet rather than 3. But luckily, a quick search upstairs, and I found a 4 to 3-inch 90-degree elbow, which is basically exactly what I needed. And then it links up to the rest of the system and is actually far neater than the original one as well. So yeah, pretty chuffed with that. One of the big jobs I've got to tackle, although it's, you know, it's not actually a big job, is the exhaust. I've always ran the exhaust that was on this car when I bought it, because it's a side exit and it's cool and it's not too loud, but it is a bit shit, to be fair. And it's certainly seen better days since I've had it. I mean, because the car's quite low, look at the state of these clamps. They are fucked, absolutely mangled. Like, and because they've been hit so many times on the road, they've come off a lot of times, and I've had to sort of bodge repair it and so on. But I think the time is up for them things. I'm going to maybe just V-band it. Basically, you can remove this section, the downpipe and that, in one, just by jacking the car up. So it doesn't need to have a separate join there. That could just be, I could literally weld that to that and it wouldn't be a problem. It just needs the rear part being some kind of fitting, a V-band probably. And I'm almost certain I've got a single, between me and Thomas, a single 3-inch V-band or some shit that I can use. If not, to be honest, now I think about it, I have got, again, because I'm a hoarder, I have got a lot of old performance exhaust systems that I've kept, like, and I've always over the years chopped them up and used bits and bobs. Even if they ain't got V-bands, I bet you I've got some with normal, you know, 3-bolt fucking normal fittings rather than this bollocks. So before I come in tomorrow, I'm going to have a nosy and bring some with me. Outlet here is 2.5 and it necks out to 3. So I got 2 choices. Just cut that off and weld a 3 on it, or remake this whole bit, because I'll show you now, under here is a proper shit show. It's a fucking mess, whoever made this exhaust. It is terrible. I got to remove all this anyway, because if I'm going to chop anything, all this is going to have to go. So I'm going to cut the clamps off, and I'll show you what the crack is. Yes, wow. Let me show you the delights of this custom downpipe. We got that bit there, which I can only presume they decided it was too short, so I had to lengthen it with scrap metal. And this bit, which is much the same, maybe worse. And this has got a giant dent in, so it's not the greatest flowing thing I've ever seen, to say the least. And I'm pretty sure there's room for a 3-inch of outdoing that. In all honesty, I could keep it from there. Their back's okay. I mean, it's not, I don't know what this is made of, but whatever it is, you know, it's fine. It's not rusting through or anything. But that up is dog shit. So I'm going to cut that off and remake that whole bit with random stuff I've got lying around. And that shouldn't be a problem. I've got lots of random stuff lying around. Afternoon number 2 of doing the Volvo big turbo swap. And today is mostly the downpipe. All of this, working out the inlet pipe work, Thomas welding on the wastegate for me, all that shenanigans was yesterday. Today's the downpipe, and the original, as I think I shown you last night in the video, was properly rubbish. It come on the car, so I'm not taking the blame, but it was fully shit. It was really bad. So I'm designing a new downpipe. Well, designing mostly the whole new exhaust. I'm going to keep it a side exit, but I'm redoing nearly all of it because A, it was shit, B, the clamps were all over the place and whatever. So
just want to be nosy.
Yeah, but this is the new downpipe I've made, which I need a torch to show you because my camera light is knackered.
Well, this is pretty good.
I'm quite pleased with that. I'm rubbish at welding, I'm no fabricator, but I do like making exhausts. And yeah, I'm quite happy with this. Basically, the last one was some sharp bends and a big squash bit to clear everything, and there still wasn't much clearance. This time, there's two very shallow bends. I'll probably see it better from underneath. I'll show you from underneath in a minute. But two shallow bends and at least an inch more clearance pretty much everywhere compared to the old hashed together dog shit downpipe that was on there. So yeah, I'm no welder at all. I'm no fabricator really, but I do quite enjoy making good flowing exhausts, and I'm sort of good at it, I think. I don't know why. I'll show you from underneath. This is how I was looking for underneath. So you see straight from the turbo, a shallow like 45, then a tiny straight I had to add, then another shallow 45 which basically was a 90 I cut in half to be the right one, and then a straight. Then this has to be cut slightly shorter, and then it's going to go to this here, which weirdly is the sort of downpipe, well, half of a downpipe and half the center section off my old Subaru Impreza, and it fits pretty lovely all the way to the rear section, which is what I'm going to keep from, you know, the original side exit bit. To be fair, that original side exit bit is also a bit fucking rubbish, but it's good enough, so fuck it. Alright, many hours of dicking about with this exhaust later, I have now finished the mock-up, and it was way more complicated than I first planned because I decided the rear section was just shit, and I'm keeping the tailpipe like it is because A, it's a pain to make a new one like that, and B, I like the look of it anyway. But the actual whole way it hung down was pretty bad, so I've literally cut it there and angled it back up, and all this bit, as you can see, I've raised it up, because the trouble is with bloody side exits, unless you've literally cut the chassis, there's no room, you know, there's no factory exhaust place for anything like that. So once it gets to there, the exhaust hangs really fucking low, and on this it pretty much hung low the whole way. So I've made it now so A, it hugs the body a bit better, but then it goes up exactly where there's the start of the room for it to go up. Well, afternoon 2 took a lot fucking longer than I expected, but as you can see by the lack of car, it now runs and drives. It is out here. I've not finished it, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning now, so it's gonna stay over there for tonight. But yeah, it runs, it drives. It's got a small oil leak from, I'm presuming the turbo oil return, because I noticed a drip, 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 drip from where I drove it out. Very small by the looks of it, but yeah, that's another job to fix. But I've done, well, practically everything, and there's no, apart from the oil leak, there's no exhaust leaks or anything like that by the looks of it. So yeah, fucking great success, I think. But now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've got a lot of tidying up to do before I even go home, because it's a fucking bomb site in here because of me just trying to get everything done. I'm going to say goodbye now, and obviously on the next video it will be that thing running and in action. The next video will also have a rundown of exactly what I did, because it turned out it was a fuckload more work than I imagined, but it got to a stage where I couldn't even be fucked recording it. It was like, I just wanted it done, but it still takes a while, hence 1 AM now. So yeah, and I gotta be up at fucking 7 o'clock in the morning too. Right, night night.